All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I want to further reflect on, I'm just logging onto my computer here real quick. I want to further reflect on what went wrong Friday when I lost $2,700 on PayPal. Now, it is a huge loss, right? It's 2 weeks probably worth of really big trades, and I was really gaining some momentum. On Friday, I had about $3,200 in the account, and now I have $500 in my trading account. So it's psychologically difficult, but it is still kind of fresh, but I am working through it. I feel a lot better today, and I'm sort of faced with a dilemma because I'm still up on the month, right? I'm still up over $2,000 on the month, which is better than May. Still, May I made about $1,800. But before I took this loss, I was up like $4,700 this month. This could have been, a $5,000 gain this month for me. Now it's going to be more like a $2,000 gain, maybe a little bit more. We'll see how it goes. But I'm faced with this dilemma where I could liquidate some of my stock portfolio because I started buying I started a long-term account on TD Ameritrade. It's right next to my trading account. So I was taking profits out of my trading account and putting it into a long term. I also bought physical silver, physical gold, because we had major pullbacks in precious metals. So I wanted to start acquiring some of that. Maybe that was a bad idea. Maybe I should have kept the full like 4,700 that I had made in the account, but I didn't want it all in one place. I am hanging on to some physical cash, but I'm also hanging on to those precious metals, and now I have the stock portfolio. So I'm faced with a dilemma. If I liquidate the stock portfolio, which is about $2,000, I will have $2,500 to trade with, which is plenty. I could do very well with $2,500. I could easily do well with $2,500. But I don't want to liquidate the stock portfolio just yet. So what I'm going to try to do is maybe trade with the $500 in my account. I've done it before, right? I took $341 on May 1st, and I made over $7,000 since. I also recently helped take my brother's account from about $400 to $1,100 just on Friday. Right? Well, it took a couple of weeks, but we finally got to $1,100 on Friday. So I know I can do it. The skill is there to get back in the green. The skill is there to trade with even $500. And maybe I'll just do another small account challenge, and we'll see if I can do it a third time. But I want to focus on in this video what went wrong, and because it's not systematic. My strategy does work. I have a winning strategy. I was on a 2-month winning streak, and it wasn't luck, right? Is there some luck involved in this? Perhaps, right? We're lucky to be born in America where we all have Macintosh computers, but this is a skill that I've acquired, and so I know that the skill to get back in the green is there, and it's not a total loss because I'm still up on the month. But I have to reflect on what went wrong, and maybe with me reflecting on how I lost so much control and all the signs that were there that maybe I shouldn't have bought in calls that day. By going through this, maybe it'll help somebody out there. So I have a short list here. The first thing that I want to mention, right? I'm actually going to turn the camera around so that we can look at the charts. So the first thing to mention is that there was a price gap between Wednesday and Thursday. You can see the price gapped up, and so when Friday came, which is this red candle here, the probability that price was going to probably have to fill in this gap, the probability was very high. That was a lot of probablys that I just said, but the probability was high that the gap was going to get filled. Now, do stocks sometimes gap up and then just keep going for weeks or months before they ever fill the gap? Absolutely, that can happen. But the market had gapped up, right? The NASDAQ had gapped up that same day on Wednesday and Thursday, or between Wednesday and Thursday. And so did PayPal, and a lot of stocks did. So it was a very high chance that this was going to pull back. I knew about the gap, right? I knew it had happened, but it just wasn't a factor in my morning analysis when I was watching pre-market, right? I'm watching pre-market on PayPal, and I just didn't even think about it. I told you guys I was unprepared, right? I was very unprepared and I just did not have enough time to really look at my charts. I should have walked away, because had I walked away, I would have still been up $4,700 this month, and I would have had $3,200 in my account to trade with on Monday. I wish I had just, walked away. But anyways, we can't go back. But what we can do is reflect. So number 2 is that if you look at Thursday's price, and let me show you what it looks like on the daily. Another reason this gap up was so important, and it was a very, very costly mistake, is that we had this topping tail on Thursday's price action, right? This is a daily chart. You can clearly, let me see, you can clearly see the topping tail. And so that was a sign that, hey, there was a lot of resistance. There is a supply zone up here too, but it's just like there's been all these supply zones down here, and PayPal recently has just been ripping, right? So I don't know what got into me. I really thought that, for whatever reason, PayPal was just going to come into the supply zone before rejecting, but that had already happened on Thursday. And if you look at the 15-minute chart from Thursday, right, we have a classic bearish head and shoulders pattern, right? So look at it in context with Friday. You can see the head and shoulders pattern, but again, it was just another one of those things that did not register. I just did not pick it up in my morning analysis. I was unprepared, and I was too gung-ho to get into a trade, and I really, really messed up bad on this, because had I realized this head and shoulders pattern, or had I thought about it, right, on Friday morning, this would have been the perfect opportunity to get in on puts. I could have even gotten in on puts at the close on Thursday. I don't like holding overnight, but this would have been pretty much a guaranteed emotionless trade, because you could have gotten in, and by the next day your contracts, would have been worth twice as much, 3 times as much, maybe 4 or 5 times as much. Right? You could have gotten like a 188 put up here for maybe, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 bucks, and by the time it got down here, could have been worth, I don't know, a few hundred. So that was a really, really big thing that I missed. So, these patterns are very real. And I don't use patterns by themselves, because I do think the technical analysis and the patterns, it's a little bit of a cult, but it is important, and I incorporate it. Just like I incorporate support and resistance, I incorporate it with my supply and demand trading strategy. And I knew we had demand down here around the 288 to 289 area, but we just never got the bounce that I was really hoping for. And that's never a position you want to be in. You never want to be in a trade hoping. And that's what I was doing. All right. So that was the second thing that I had missed. Thirdly, I want to talk about the VIX, right? Because the VIX, we can actually look at it side by side here. The VIX, which is over here in this corner, if you look, the VIX all day was trending down, right? This is Friday's price action. You can see the VIX pretty much all day was just trending down. And usually when that happens, right, this is kind of a generality here. It's obviously not always true, as I saw from Friday's price action. PayPal also went down while the VIX was going down. But usually when the VIX is going down, that is pretty bullish for stocks. When the VIX is going up, stocks are usually pulling back. So the fact that the VIX was going down and just kept going down, I'm thinking to myself that PayPal has to bounce in a major way, right? It just has to bounce in a major way. And that's obviously not true. I was arrogant to think that just because the VIX was trending down, that PayPal had to move up. That was very arrogant of me to assume that. The fourth thing I want to say about this, the fourth thing that I want to say is that we also had inflation data that came out. Now, there's 2 inflation metrics that I follow every single month. They come out every month. There's the CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, but there's also the consumer expenditures. I think there's the CPI and then PCE, the Price Expenditures Index, I think is what it's called. But anyways, there's two different inflation datas, and we got one of them. The second one of the month came out on Friday, and the data, I mean, it was at a 3.4, which is very high, the highest it's been since 1992. And when inflation data came out last Friday, right, which would have been, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, let me go to the 30-minute chart. That would have been probably this candle right here, right? I think that was Friday. Was that the 17th? It might have been the 18th. Yeah, it was the 18th. When the inflation data came out last week, I mean, look, PayPal rallied 2 days in a row, right? It had some huge moves. I mean, these are very, very big moves from 275 all the way to 285. That's a big move right there. That's like a $10 move. And so when the inflation data came out on Friday, I was thinking to myself, you know, well, it's so high, right? Because tech stocks usually do pretty good in these inflationary environments. The stock market in general can do very well in inflationary environments because the prices of the stocks go up as well. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, the inflation data is so hot right now, this stock has to bounce. And again, that was an error in my judgment, an error in my analysis. Now, all of that is fine, right? It's okay that I was wrong. It's okay that I had, you know, sort of missed some key technical patterns like the head and shoulders pattern, right? It's okay that I missed the gap up and I just didn't realize that price was probably going to pull back. All of that is okay. It's okay to be wrong. What wasn't okay is that I continued to double down. I basically lost control emotionally. And instead of reading the charts and really trying to figure out why this trade wasn't working, because I got in on calls, I could have easily just gotten in on puts and I could have made a quick, you know, $500 probably, maybe even more on this move right here. And I didn't read the charts and I didn't listen to the market. I was arrogant. I was fearful. I was full of anxiety, and I continued to trade basically in a state of panic. All right. And at one point in time, I think I even switched strike prices. I had the 292.5 calls, and then I switched somewhere over here to the 290 calls, right? And I was like 40 contracts in. I had 40 contracts. Absolutely ridiculous, you know, but I lost it. I lost control. I doubled down. I tripled down. I'm not proud of it. It sucks to be able to have to, you know, to come on here and admit all of this after, you know, months and months and months of winning. But I basically, you know, that's what happened. I was in a state of panic and I doubled and tripled down, and I shouldn't have done that. And that is why I pretty much blew up this account. I mean, I still have $500 in there. I'm hopeful that I can take that back to 1,000 and beyond. But it's going to take a little while. I need to take a step back and sort, because I got away with a lot of BS this week. I even over traded a couple of times. You know, I made like $370 for 3 days in a row. And then on Thursday, I made $200, and that wasn't enough. So I took 2 more trades and just barely made $450 on Thursday. So I got away with a lot. I over traded, and I feel sort of like the universe kind of, you know, had to take some of this money back because I just made it too fast and I wasn't really appreciating what kind of money this really is. Because to make even $50 or $100 just from trading, most people, it takes them all day, if not 2 days or 3 days, to make that kind of money. Especially, you know, if you're working in the service sector. I've served tables for many, many years of my life. You could work all Saturday night and be sometimes lucky to make 75 or $80. So the fact that I can wake up in the morning and make this, you know, this is pretty good money. I mean, for me, right? For some people, maybe they're like, oh, it's chump change, but I just wasn't appreciating it like I should have. So I think the universe, God, just sort of took some of this back to teach me a hard lesson, right? And to make me more appreciative of this kind of money. But I need to develop basically a firewall, right? So a strategy that, a psychological and emotional strategy that I can use when I start feeling myself in this state of panic, maybe a max contract size that I can go in on, maybe a max daily loss, a max weekly loss, I need to probably take a step back, trade with less money, until I can prove to myself that this is never going to happen again. And this has by far been my biggest loss, like on one trade. I'm very, very blessed because I'm still up on the month, and it wasn't, I still have money. Unfortunately, most of the cash is tied up in either stocks right now, and I don't want to liquidate that, or it's tied up in precious metals. And I will definitely liquidate the stock portfolio before I liquidate the precious metals portfolio. But I just recently, within the last 2 weeks, pretty much, my brother's taking the trades himself, and but I'm basically coaching him, and I helped to take his account from about $400 to $1,100 in the last week or so. So I know that I can do it, but it's going to kind of, it's going to hurt a little bit, because it's going to suck, because I was putting $500, $1,000 on one single trade and scalping $200, $300 out of the market every single day. But maybe there are some things in my strategy that I can kind of clean up a little bit. I am a little bit too eager. My entries were very, very poor. I could have made a lot more money had I just waited 15 minutes after the open and waited for the better entries. So, this is going to force me to take a step back and really do things differently. But, I'm not discouraged by this. If anything, this has given me even more encouragement and energy and focus. And I have some assets now, right? I've acquired almost $100 worth of silver, or I'm sorry, almost 100 ounces worth of silver, right? This is about $2,000 worth of silver that I now have. Most of it I bought last month, or this month, I should say. I also bought a couple of 10th pieces of gold, and now I have a stock portfolio. So I have some asset, and I don't want to get rid of that. So I'm going to really try to trade with this $500. I'm very blessed that I still have $500 in my account. That's still part of my profit, right? The $500 is not even the money I started with this month. The $500 is still part of my profit, and I'm still over $2,000 up on the month. So I have a lot to be grateful for. A lot, I'm very, very blessed, and I'm sharing this because I think it can help people who are struggling. It can help people who maybe have taken a very huge loss like this. Don't do what I do, right? Don't do what I did. Definitely cut the loss at a certain point. Don't double down, and read the charts. Be prepared. If I'm not prepared one day, for whatever reason, I'm helping around the house, helping my dad recover from his surgery, doing grocery shopping, whatever it is. If I'm not prepared, I don't have to trade that day, right? This mindset that I have to trade every single day is it's ridiculous, and it's greedy. So there is some psychological things that I need to tweak. But all in all, I'm not going to let this trade define me as a trader. But it definitely is going to, I'm going to use it to improve and become an even better trader. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Feel free to leave a story down below about your biggest loss. I would love to hear back from you guys on that. And let me know, what are you looking at? What's on your watch list? Where are you putting your money? And as always, until next time, God bless.